I'm Stephanie. Welcome to my channel. To me, Sacred Feminine Embodiment is about knowing your creative power and honoring our receptivity to the divine. Today we're going to be talking about Sacred Feminine Embodiment, what that means, where it appears across spiritual traditions, and how we can reconnect with it in our own lives. This video is split into chapters for your convenience. You can locate those in the description. And there's also a Mary Magdalene ritual that will be in this video and also a separate video. So that's another way I'm trying to make it as convenient for the viewer as possible. Today we're going to explore the power of Mary Magdalene, the ancient concept of Shakti, the spiritual symbolism of the womb, and how ritual and spell work can help us embody this energy in the modern world. So what is Sacred Feminine Embodiment? Sacred Feminine Embodiment is the practice of living in connection with the intuitive, creative, and cyclical intelligence of life. Across many ancient traditions, the feminine was not simply a gender, it was understood as a cosmic force. It was the power that births stars, grows forests, and creates new life. When we embody the sacred feminine, we begin to trust our intuition. We honor cycles of rest and creation. We move energy through our body. We create rituals that align us with nature. Sacred feminine embodiment is less about belief and more about experience. It asks us to feel our connection to the living world, its connection to life. Mary Magdalene. Okay, so we're going to be talking about Mary Magdalene. She's a powerful figure in my spiritual life, and that's more recent, I think within the last year. I would always do these meditations in the morning where I would meditate with Jesus, and I started to feel called to call on Mary Magdalene as well, and I now do that. I meditate with Jesus, ask for support and for help or for guidance or for security, and then I ask Mary Magdalene to help me with receptivity, like receiving the good in my life, receiving God's love, receiving the love of the divine. So I call on Mary Magdalene for help with receptivity and also as a balance and harmony to my divine representation. So Mary Magdalene is one of the most powerful figures connected to the sacred feminine. She is often portrayed simply as a follower of Jesus in mainstream Christian traditions, but many scholars in mystical traditions see her as something far more powerful. In texts like the Gospel of Mary, Mary Magdalene is portrayed as a spiritual teacher and a keeper of deep wisdom. Some traditions view her as a priestess of the divine feminine, and as someone who understood the mystical teachings of transformation and spiritual rebirth. Whether historical or symbolic, Mary Magdalene has become a powerful archetype for the awakening of feminine spiritual authority. Bird confirmation. So I think she is a great figure to talk about when talking about embodying the sacred feminine. I can't think of a figure for me personally that represents that more. So I'm grateful to include her legacy and her representation for spirituality in this video. The power of the womb. Woo! This is a big one. This is something I also learned about in the past couple of years. I mean, I think you grow up, you know that you have female reproductive organs when you have a womb. You learn about it. But I never learned anything about the spiritual power, the creative power, the manifestation power, the manipulation of energy power. The womb is so powerful. So I was like, oh my gosh, we have to talk about this. So in many ancient traditions, the womb is seen as more than a biological organ. It is viewed as a center of creation and energetic power. Spiritually, the womb represents creation, transformation, emotional memory, and intuition. Many cultures believed the womb held the power to manifest new realities, not only physically, but spiritually. This is why practices such as womb meditations, womb blessings, and womb healing rituals exist across many spiritual traditions. Even for people who do not physically have a womb, the symbolism still applies. The womb represents the creative center within all humans. It is the place where ideas, visions, and new identities are born. So I think the womb is, to me, like a center of power or a source of power, creative power, energetic power. And all of this has to do with interacting with the spiritual realm, and which eventually comes through into the physical realm. But the power starts there. Shakti, the cosmic feminine energy. I just learned about Shakti again in the past couple of years and totally resonated with this spiritual tradition, this spiritual force, and recognizing that in each of us. In Hindu spiritual philosophy, the sacred feminine energy is known as Shakti. Shakti is the creative force of the universe. Without Shakti, nothing moves, nothing grows, and nothing exists. She is often expressed through goddesses like Kali, Durga, and Parvati. Each represents a different aspect of feminine power: creation, protection, destruction, and rebirth. Sacred feminine embodiment is essentially learning to move with Shakti energy, allowing the force to move through the body and guide our actions. And this is something I want to get better at, because I feel like, I'm good at sensing the unseen, I'm good at visioning in the unseen, but moving energy, transforming energy, transmuting energy is something I really want to get really good at. And I think learning more about Shakti is going to be beneficial for me. Rituals and spells as feminine technology. Throughout history, women and spiritual practitioners worked with ritual as a way to direct energy and intention. What many people call spells today were traditionally forms of prayer, herbal medicine, seasonal rituals, and intention setting. These practices helped people connect to the cycles of the moon, the earth, and the seasons. I particularly connect with full moon rituals, glamour magic, and aligning certain actions with astrology or the seasons. Simple sacred feminine rituals might include things like lighting a candle and setting an intention, working with the moon cycles, creating a sacred altar, meditating on the womb or creative center of the body. Ritual allows us to step into sacred space and consciously shape our lives. It reminds us that spirituality is not only something we think about, it is something we practice and embody. And now here is a ritual to support us in our sacred feminine embodiment, the Mary Magdalene anointing ritual. This is a sacred feminine devotion practice. In many spiritual interpretations, Mary Magdalene is associated with sacred devotion, spiritual initiation, and honoring of the body as a vessel of divine wisdom. One of the most symbolic acts connected to her story is anointing with sacred oils, an ancient ritual used across many traditions for blessing, healing, and spiritual awakening. What you will need: a small candle, olive oil or rose oil, and I added an essential oil of choice, so that's optional. A small bowl, a flower, a quiet sacred space. Step 1. Create a sacred space. Light the candle and sit quietly. Take several slow breaths and imagine yourself entering a sacred temple space. You may say, "I open this space in reverence to the sacred feminine and the wisdom carried through time." Step 2. The anointing. Place a small amount of oil in the bowl. Dip your fingers into the oil and gently anoint your forehead, your heart, your womb, or lower abdomen. As you do this, say, "I am receptive to the love of the divine. I am receptive to all of the good that is being bestowed upon me. Thank you, Mary Magdalene, for supporting me in receiving miracles, blessings, and gifts of the divine. Anointing symbolizes recognizing the body as sacred. Step 3. Devotional reflection. Hold the flower in your hands. Reflect on receiving all of these blessings. Reflect on your worthiness as a beloved child of the ultimate Creator. Spend a few moments in meditation or prayer. Step 4. Speak an intention aloud. For example, may I embody sacred feminine power in my life. Step 5. Closing ritual. Blow out the candle and thank the space. You might say, I am a creator and I receive the love of the divine. Why this ritual connects to Mary Magdalene traditions. In biblical narratives, anointing oils appear in sacred acts of devotion and spiritual recognition. Many mystical interpretations of Mary Magdalene emphasize her role of spiritual initiation and sacred feminine wisdom, making anointing rituals a meaningful symbolic practice inspired by her story.